Welcome to the Fandom Post Radio podcast. I am your exhausted engineer, Kate, and joining me this week is Brandon.
Hello.
Kestrel. I didn't hear
I'll take his place. I do not hear Kestrel.
You did not hear me?
We didn't hear you the first 3 times you probably tried to say something. This happened last time too, didn't it?
This did happen last time.
That's super weird.
The clap.
I
It shuffled everything up.
I smell a conspiracy now.
Discord's got some serious clipping issues happening lately, so it could be that. And Cain.
Hello, keeping the energy high.
It's good. I'm glad somebody is.
I know you came in and I was like, well, there's nowhere to go but up from here, baby.
Oh man, I had a rough day.
Hi, I'm your something. I don't know what
Yeah, I don't give a fuck. But you know,
We're here to talk about anime.
indeed, we got
Cartoons.
the new season. Yeah, I know we were looking forward to it, so I'm sure we're gonna have some good stuff to talk about because there are a couple big shows that have had impacts. I would say both positively and negatively, unfortunately. So I'm sure we'll have a lot of fun talking about those, as well as a couple returning cast members, so to speak.
Hello, I'm back.
Long time no see.
How many did I miss? 2?
Just one.
Just one? It just
Yeah.
that is just like a half a year span though.
Yeah.
When you miss one.
I get reminded every time I look at a page on the Fandom Post because we have like all the podcast episodes pinned to the bottom, and so I always see the one without a Brandon episode image. I'm like, fucking combo breaker. We had such a good run going.
Oh no, the Duolingo streak.
Yeah, exactly. We need to streak freeze.
Awesome.
Well, I'm back, baby.
Before we get into the season, we can always swing by the news desk to see if there's anything interesting happening in the wide world of anime. And I know Kestrel is kind of our main contact, our bloodline. So, what do we got?
On the
Personal
streets.
Cronkite.
On the streets. Nice. We need to make a graphic for that now, even if no one else can see it.
Yeah.
Where in the world is Kestrel?
Yeah. Anyway, I have remarkably little news considering it's been over a month. In fact, I just deleted a few of them because I was like, yeah, I haven't thought about this since I put it on the doc, so probably not important. But there is one important piece of news, and speaking of journeying around the world, I don't know. We're finally getting Steel Ball Run anime confirmed. Hooray!
Indeed.
Oh man.
We
The
get
people
to
at
see.
my
Be the
work.
most. Oh,
We
that's
get
about
to
to be the most
see-
toxic shit ever.
Oh god.
I'm not ready for people to react to this.
I'm very curious about the horse situation.
Right, that's what everyone's saying.
But yeah, just waiting to see the first clip of animation.
Exactly.
As in, like, if it's gonna look bad. I don't know what happens in Steel Ball Run, so I don't know if you mean by horse like in meme uncomfortable ways, or just there's a lot of horse animation and it could look like shit.
Right.
The horse animation.
Oh,
Horses are hard.
The premise of Steel Ball Run is it's the Cannonball Run, but set in the late 1800s. So
oh, okay.
they're on horses.
Probably for a large majority of the time.
For like 80% of the run.
Oh lord, I feel bad for the animators.
Yeah.
Yep. So
Yep.
we hope that these years have given them everything they need to pull that off, but very worrying until we get some footage.
Was it announced also, like, is it going to be on Netflix again, or is that not really known who the
I don't think
streamer?
there was anything confirmed about it. I think people probably assumed that based on... Actually, I want to say they did confirm it because they had some note about, like, yeah, we know that people didn't like how we did Stone Ocean. So it kind of implies that they're going to do it weekly this time.
That's good. That was my only worry, is that they'd do batch releases again, which literally killed part 6. But
well, this is the most hyped storyline in a while, if not entirely, right?
Like, it is
I know people
far the most acclaimed part of JoJo, and considered like one of the greatest manga of all time. Period.
Wow.
It's crazy how much hype it has, though. I'm like so scared for the reactions.
And if it is that good, then it's a very good position to be in, because it is a completely new universe. It's not a continuation of any of the previous ones at all. So, if it is good, you get to just start with it.
Yeah, you could theoretically just jump in right here and not care about anything else in the previous, seasons, characters, all that stuff.
And that's where it's already created a huge rift, because there's plenty of people that will tell you can't skip parts, even though it's like a universe reset. Which, yes, you can, because it is its own story in like a new universe, but you definitely miss out on some fun little references to previous characters and homage characters. Right. And I mean, a lot of the main characters are also foils of previous characters, so you get a lot more if you have watched it all. But I can see why some people are like, well, this is the one everyone says is good.
Yeah, I mean, like, to slightly segue into our first anime that we're going to be talking about for the season. Most Gundam series start with a new universe. Some of them tell you they're going to, and then don't. But most of them do, but they have the same kind of patterns of like, okay, yeah, if you know your Char, then you get something extra out of this. If you know your new types, you get something extra out of this. So I feel like it's the same kind of deal there.
If you know your Char, you know your full frontal.
Right. Well, that does actually require the background.
Oh god.
Yeah, I'm certainly interested in it.
Cautiously excited.
Yeah, same. I know my friends that like JoJo's have been wishing that it's successful enough to get this far in the story for a long time. Like, they're just like, I don't know if it's ever going to happen, but if we got a steel ball run, it would be insane.
Yeah, so we made it.
And
yeah, the hype has been around since the beginning.
Yeah, oh, for sure. The manga is going to start getting its English release also in the next few months, so good timing there.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
So we only had, like, fan translations up until about now?
Yeah, that's how it's been with pretty much all of them.
Wow,
this is actually the first one that Viz has like officially licensed before the David production anime adaptation. They've pretty much, like, they did part 3 back in the day because that was the popular one, and then they just started over at the beginning of the series once like the anime adaptation started.
Yeah, they've been playing catch up for a long time.
Yeah.
That's nuts. I thought we had at least most of it, because I mean, I've seen it in the Shonen Jump app for so long. I just figured they were just barreling through all of it gradually.
I mean, as gradually as the anime has been coming out, so over the course of 13 years.
Indeed,
it's crazy.
Well, I will remain also cautiously optimistic, because I don't want to be too hype and then turn it on and then I see my first CGI horse and I'm just, oh no.
Right, exactly. Just turn it off and pick up the book.
Yep.
We just need them to get whoever's making Uma Musume to turn their pretty girl horse running animation into a real horse animation.
I don't think that translates.
It doesn't. A man can dream, though.
Unless you want your JoJo characters riding on cute anime girls.
Yeah, I didn't say Part 7 could get any better, but...
That would be wild.
Alright, cool. What else we got?
That's literally all I had.
Hey, nice. If anything, it's probably a refreshing thing to not have as much news, because a lot of the news that we go over is always like, X person died.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah,
that's
So it's a little
It's
bit of
nice.
a nice thing that it's
I don't
only
think
good.
Pope Francis was very involved in anime, so I didn't list him on there.
Well, there was one thing.
Yeah, what was it again?
Oh,
They
there was
like
something.
made it like the Vatican
mascot?
made a mascot.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Who got
I like
instantly pornified.
we all collectively
my
blocked
God.
that from our memory.
Yeah, that happened.
Oh man, can't wait for the next pope to be a VTuber.
Amazing. Well,
Now,
all right,
I'm not
so-
saying they killed off the Pope because everyone's invested in the Catholic Church because of Conclave, but if they
Yeah.
did, it would have been good timing.
It's some stellar marketing. I'll say
Yeah.
that much.
I will say that release to us streaming was extremely well timed.
Yeah.
If they could have killed him off like a few months earlier, it might have won some Oscars, but
For real.
Yeah, I saw the
But
movie
yeah.
got like an enormous streaming bump.
of course, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it literally came onto Prime like the day after he died.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
When I say the timing was impressive, the timing was impressive.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's been on like Peacock for a few months, but yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
realize it just came on Prime. Nice.
Oh, it's silly.
I'm not
All right.
saying Jeff Bezos killed Pope Francis, but okay,
No,
But I
because
wouldn't put it
everybody
past
knows. Everybody knows it was JD Vance. So
it's true.
Yeah.
I would also die if I had to talk to JD.
Dies of cringe.
Yeah.
My Instagram feed had a news article like the next day that said Pope literally would rather die than spend another minute with JD Vance.
Yeah, true.
Alrighty, so I think we covered the news and it was all good, which is a nice little change. Even if it was one thing, you take your
Love that.
W's where you can get them. So I think we can jump into the season now, and we have a couple pretty hyped shows that we're going to talk about a little bit here. And I think, especially with how much Kestrel was trying so hard not to spoil anything for me before, we'll start off with the one that we have most in common, which is actually all of us, and that's Gundam G Quacks, which I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it now. I've just been calling it G Cucks.
Just also
It was nice that in the show they literally like, how do you say that?
Yep.
Like, I think it's G-Quacks. It's like, oh, okay.
yeah,
nice,
I remember.
nice 4D moment.
Yeah, when I saw the theatrical broadcast of the first 3 episodes, and I was like, Cain, you need to see this. And he's like, okay, do they like acknowledge the title at all in it? I'm like, oh man, you're gonna love this one scene.
It was my favorite.
The first thing I have to ask, since you're the only one that saw the theatrical release, Kestrel, is the show not in order of how it was shown in the theater?
Correct.
Was episode 2 shown? Was that supposed to be at the beginning?
Yeah, exactly. So that's why it was so like, what the fuck in the
Yeah.
theater, because it advertised itself as a new Gundam series. It didn't show anything related to the Universal Century. Everyone assumed it would be a brand new universe, brand new story, brand new characters. And then fucking second one theatrical run, there's Char, there's 0079, and everything
Like shot for
is like,
shot, some
yeah,
scenes.
exactly.
It's crazy.
Like the opening monologue, exactly the same. The colony drop,
Mhm.
everything. And then it's just fucking Char taking the Gundam, the RX-78-2. And I was just like, what the fuck? So that's why I was like, Cain, you need to watch this. I
Yeah,
need to hear your opinion.
I managed to not hear a single thing about this until it aired, so I went in completely blind, and I had to pause it 10 seconds in real quick, because the first thing you saw on the TV one, if I recall correctly, is a green-white base.
Yeah.
Like the zoom out of the green-white base with the Zeonic symbols on it, and I was like, wait a fucking second, and I paused it. Yeah, I just stared at the screen for like a minute because I
Rubbing
was
your
waiting
eyes.
for this.
Huh?
Yeah. Whoa. So it took some time to get used to.
Mhm.
The entirety of the first 2 episodes mainly. But I'm really, really liking it so far as an alternate history interesting, twist on things. So it's just I couldn't get over a Zeonic white base for the longest time. It fucked with my brain.
Yeah, there's so many curveballs. I was like, what do you mean Chalia Bull is like a main character? What's happening? I understand why the TV version had to do what it did, because they are pitching you a new show and a new universe and stuff. So like they got to show you who like the actual main cast is and all that. But it is just a bit jarring putting like the Char prequel part as episode 2. I feel like it should have been like an episode 0 thing, but I also understand that they want to give people context, especially if you have not watched the 79 anime.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it would have been nice if it just aired first, but
yeah,
honestly, it threw me for a fucking loop. I was like, am I watching the wrong thing right now? I was like, did I upload or put Origin on for some reason?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I was expecting something, at least like a cut at the end where like she wakes up from a dream, or it fades in and she's being told the story from some other character. Anything that connects it to the first episode, and they were just like, nah, fuck that. You're just gonna get a redo of the first couple episodes of 0079, which now that I think back on it, recording now with you guys, I feel bad for the people who got fucking rug pulled. Yeah. Because if you went into this thinking it was new,
exactly,
and then you got to the second episode and you're like, what is any of this? I mean, even the first episode, you're like, you miss out on so much. Like, you could enjoy the first episode without really knowing anything about the Universal Century, because it still keeps it separate enough with its Gundam Fight Club sub-storyline and putting a beanie on Horo, which might be the most genius thing they've ever done. And
that is sick.
But then the second episode rolls around, and if you haven't seen 0079, Char doing any of this, the Gundam being stolen, any of it means nothing in context.
Yes. And that's the big problem, is like, even me, who read all of Origin, could not, to save my life, tell you who Chalia was. I'm like, there's this guy. I don't even remember what his role was in the original story.
I don't even know if Chalia was adapted in Origin. I'm pretty sure he was like a one-off character in the 79 anime, and it was his whole thing was that he was like a really good pilot for one of the mobile armors, I think. And then, he fights Amuro and dies. And that's like his 15 minutes of fame.
Yeah, he's like a mini boss.
Exactly. But then they were like, but what if we did some like Shalia Yaoi? And they're like, okay. We bow.
When they're sharing that wine. They're sharing that wine, and I was like, this could take a turn.
Yeah.
I'm very much here for it. So let's see, and then nothing came of it, at least by the end of that episode. But yeah. So
it's such a head scratcher of what, I don't know, dude.
Yeah. Last episode, I was saying like, it's gonna be a mindfuck, but not the kind of mindfuck you're expecting from this staff, and this is why.
And it's so funny that it is a rug pull in the sense that it's like, fine, you fuckers don't want to watch the original, we'll make you. But. Yeah, right. It is a weird monkey's paw thing, because I've been thinking for years, basically since they started adapting Origin, I was like, they're going to have to at some point do a recreation of 79. And I figured with the 50th anniversary in like a couple years, that's like the timing and the window for it. Exactly. And at least like, I don't know, have Tomino just like overview or some shit. Don't make that poor man go through that hell again.
It's okay. We don't need Tomino.
But this was like the monkey's paw version of that, where it's like, okay, you get Universal Century, but let's fuck with it.
Exactly.
But aside from the rewriting of the origin story, I do really like what we're getting from the new side of it. I think the new designs and the characters really pop. The colors are great. I think, obviously, Kara's like 3D modeling for the Gundams are really good because they've honed that since doing the rebuilds.
Right.
I think they're a little over designed, but they don't look bad in motion. So it's like I'm not huge on the design, but they look still good moving. So it's like a give and take on that end.
Yeah, I was going to ask what you guys thought of the redesigns of the mobile suits, because I'm going to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of them. They remind me of if you tried to make a Gundam in, I mean this as an insult, a Gundam and Bionicle crossover.
Yeah.
Yes,
Where, like, everything is like, everything's knobbly and like over designed with lots of like holes in places that they shouldn't be. Like the one thing I did like about the redesign, especially of the Zaku's, is their fucking thick asses with the boosters when they like crouch. I thought that was fun, but the Gundam itself of RX-78 I was not a fan of because the face is not, I don't know. It doesn't feel as much to me inspired by as more like we just redid it entirely, like as if we had never seen Gundam before. Someone just said make a robot and make it mostly white with some red and blue accents.
Mm-hmm. Kara are definitely doing some weird Evangelion shit with it too.
Yeah, for sure.
They have alluded to some weird things already, and I'm not ready to see these Gundams going through transformations because of the new type bullshit. So
yeah,
we'll see. But yeah, I agree. I think the RX-78 in particular, not my favorite redesign. I don't mind the G-Quacks. I think it looks kind of cool. But
yeah, but that's an original thing, so you can appreciate it for what it is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It makes it hard when you have these iconic designs and then you have these reduxes and they don't look anything close.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's just, I mean, obviously that's my perspective as someone who is a fan of like redesigning with inspiration from the original rather than just wiping the slate clean. I actually had a bigger problem with the gun cannon. But that's only because the gun cannon is actually my favorite mobile suit from that original series.
Fair.
Because it's such a simple design and they just put huge cannons on the shoulders. Like, it didn't need to be anything else. Like, I like that it was a very utilitarian mobile suit. That they were just like, what if we put fucking just big guns on it? And that was it. And then when it comes walking out of the hangar and it, like, looks like a Bionicle, it wasn't doing a whole lot for me. But yeah, when they're in motion, though, everything looks really, really good, which I guess is what matters at the end of the day.
Yeah. It doesn't help that there's like a stark contrast between like the very rounded and flatter characters and then the very detailed and sharp edges of the mobile suits.
Also, the fact that Episode 1 and Episode 2 just look like they're completely different shows, because Episode 2 looks like a modernization of Gundam 79, and Episode 1 looks like Pokemon characters.
No, definitely. That's a perfect way to say it. It does look like the 3D Pokemon characters put into anime, and Episode 2 is literally just the origin character designs.
Exactly. Like, that's just Char. And then the character designer for the show is literally like the character designer for a few of the Pokemon seasons. So very distinctive aesthetic, yeah.
Which is, I don't know. My favorite thing about the flashback is they go hard on the 1970s music.
Oh, fuck yeah.
I was like, that was almost more jarring than the way things look, because I'm like, because they still had like, the CG for everything, and it still looks super clean, and I'm like, I like what they're going for here, but obviously it still looks like a modern show, and then the music is just like, god damn, this is over. Like, you guys went hard on the music, which was hilarious. So
they did the eye catch.
Yep.
Yeah.
The
with all like.
Yeah.
Every time like the new type like trigger sound happens, I was like wincing. I was like, oh god, where am I?
I love that.
Yeah. I
That and
really
when
am
they
curious
play
how that's
Gallant
gonna
Char.
blend. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, yeah. The second that came out, I was like, oh god, we're so
Yeah.
back.
The second Gallant Char started, I was in my hype mobile. I was ready. Bump, 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 and then he's kicking ass. I'm like, this is all right. Like, I'm gonna have trouble
Yeah.
cheering for him as a good guy, as the protagonist in a way, but I'll watch him beat
Yeah.
ass for 45 minutes.
The most competent Char has ever been. Single-handedly wins the war.
Yeah, pretty much.
It
They're
is.
blowing themselves up.
I'm interested to see how they handle more characters because they're gonna have to bring up Amuro in some way, even if he's just like not
will
really
laugh.
involved.
I will laugh so hard if he's just some random kid in the background.
Dude, he might just like him and Fao just like get married or whatever, and they just sort of like settle down, have some kids. Or
I mean, he'd almost have to because the Gundam is kind of the whole reason. I mean, he's a new type, but it's not like he joined the military. He jumped in and just became a part of the war effort by circumstance. And now that circumstantial piece is gone, I don't know how you'd shoehorn him in. I mean, they showed Temray, but that makes sense because he was a military scientist guy, which also was my favorite part of the episode right around there when Char's like, I better be careful so I don't tear a hole in the side. And I'm like, haha, because that's what Amuro did and fucked his dad up for life.
Yeah. No, yeah, and all the offhanded comment, they're like, oh yeah, Garma, he just kind of retired from the military. He's chilling now. It's like, oh, that poor sweet boy.
Yeah, it's really interesting what the ripple effect is for Char and this part happening without Amuro, because so many more people will probably live and just do whatever.
Yeah, like we're gonna see like Ramba Rao, like what's gonna happen? I have no idea how much more they're gonna integrate the old stuff with the new stuff. I feel like it's gonna just blend in a way that's gonna be so I don't know.
That's what's so funny. It's so like, yeah, kid, you're nobody. Like literally nobody. You were just like a slacker. And like, oh my god, what if they show me he's just fucking living at a trailer park?
I would not have a problem with it. If only because it would be a fun creative difference, and then it's just him like drinking beers. He's like, I could have been something.
My dad still doesn't love me.
Yeah.
At least nobody slapped him.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So I mean, everyone has a different fate at this point because the white base belongs to Zeon. So like Kai, Shiden, and Bright, and everyone are going to be in like completely different places, if anywhere at all. Because a lot of them they went into white base and became basically conscripted military members.
Yeah, so none of them were remarkable. They just ended up in the situation that made them remarkable.
Yeah, so now the story can basically wipe them clean and you wouldn't really necessarily miss them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they're already making foils of the characters because, like, the main character she's very Amuro-like, and I forgot this blue-haired kid, what's his name? Shura or something? Shuji? Yeah, he's kind of like a Lala stand-in to, like, they start to connect and do their new type Kira stuff. So I already feel like there's like a comparison where like we don't necessarily need to bring them in if we're just homaging, but it's hard to say. They're Char's back, but he's also missing. Yeah.
Like the old fans are gonna want the fan service of like what happened to my favorite characters in this version of the universe. So I'm sure they'll give them little cameos at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. At least show a little bit like where they are now. Kind of thing. For better or for worse, even if it's just like a gravestone.
Brandon, how do you feel about making an image of the King of the Hill guys standing around drinking beers, but it's all original Gundam 79 characters?
I mean, I can make it happen.
Endorsed.
You have your assignment.
What did you guys think of Kira and the other main characters of this like new era, this new area, so to speak? I know that I say, yeah, I personally, it took me a little time to grow on them, but I like how she is an audience stand-in if you were playing like a Gundam video game where she's just like, this mobile suit sucks. I want this one instead. And that's exactly what most people would do if they were in that situation in like a similar universe, like playing a game or watching it. They'd be like, yeah, go get the powerful one.
I like how she is so freaking smooth. The scene where she's like at her dinner table and she's just talking to her mom. And she's like, "Oh yeah, the trains weren't working. Some weird shit went." She's like, "I don't know. I guess something happened." And it's like, "Girl, you were there. You were the something happened." And then she's just like, "I don't know. Stuff is happening over there." And the mom's all like, "Oh, there was blah blah blah." And she's like, "Yeah, okay, I'll do that." Like, she's like, "I want to get an after school job." And the mom's like, "No." And she's like, "God damn it." And then she's like, "Okay, I'm gonna go fucking fight in these." What are you doing?
All right, clan battle.
She's like, that'll get me some money.
She's got that potent mix. I was trying to think of the best way to define what I thought about her, but she's got that potent mix of like teenage, like apathy and that feeling of invulnerability that she just does whatever she wants.
Yes.
That's jarring, but also alluring at the same time. Because at first I was like, what does she do? She's gonna get herself killed. And then it took me a while to realize, oh, she doesn't really care one way or the other. She's just doing whatever is exciting because
teenager, she'll live forever.
Yeah, she'll live forever. She's boxed in by her current life and wants to escape it by any means necessary. And if that means stealing a mobile suit, then so be it.
The perfect candidate for piloting a weapon of mass destruction.
That she does not know how it operates or how she's connecting with it or how any of that shit works. She's just like, I can feel this with my mind. I like the shiny shinies. And it's all like, yeah you have no idea what's going on.
I want to feel it again.
I want to see the shiny shinies.
Yeah.
Can't wait until she's turned into Jello inside of one of these things.
Oh no. God.
That was the one offhanded thing when they had the mobile suit back at her clan group and they were looking at it and they're like, this one's got like teeth in it or something. And I was like, oh god, no.
God, yeah, they did say that. They're like, this thing's got teeth. And I'm like,
oh god.
I'm like, I don't think I like where that's going.
No.
The implications are not great.
No. It's like I have to keep reminding myself. It's like, oh yeah, the people responsible for this are.
Don't let Anno get his grubby hands on this script.
So, the last thing I wanted to cover real quick before we move on is I just wanted to get Kestrel your read on it in general because of the hype and seeing it in theaters and then seeing that you had dropped it as a part of your seasonal watch. I'm curious as to like the reasoning behind it. If it's it just didn't get your goat as much as you thought it would, and just basically what's the reasoning behind it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any strong reason beyond I'm trying to watch less anime, and this would have made it on my slate in previous years. Like, I don't think it's any worse than Witch from Mercury necessarily, but yeah, I think it's weird, and I don't know how to feel about it, and I've thought that since the theatrical broadcast, and yeah, I'm definitely like of two minds. I think it's fairly impenetrable to new audiences, just because of how quickly they blow through everything in what is now episode 2, and how meaningless any of that is if you have no knowledge of Gundam.
Mm-hmm.
And the weird placement, I think, was also, I don't know, like, on one hand, if you are an old school Gundam fan, or if you at least know about Universal Century, then the moment that they dropped that first scene in the movie theater was like the most what the fuck incredible moment. But it's kind of like a double-edged sword, because anyone else, it's what am I watching? And then the way that they structured it for TV, it kind of lessens that impact, and like you guys were saying, it's then weirder to start with brand new story, and then go straight into, without any real explanation, this completely different story, which either you're an old Gundam fan and you're like, okay, now this is a continuation of Universal Century or an alternate history rather, instead of a brand new thing, which obviously it wasn't anyway, because they talked about the war and Zeon and everything. But the fact that they would then just go back and have this shot-for-shot remake was very strange placement. And especially since it even literally ends with "to be continued" in episode 1. Kind of bizarre.
Weird.
And the I don't know, the whole kind of alternate history version of it makes me less invested than if it was directly connected. I feel like I have to watch, a new Hathaway or Unicorn or something like that, because it's kind of like the Marvel situation, right? Or the Star Wars situation. If it's part of the main story, the canon, then you never know when these things are going to come back up, and you have to have seen this, because they're going to be referencing it in something in the future. So the fact that it's not quite that, I guess for a Marvel comparison, it's literally like the Marvel show What If, which is just, hey, here's the premise of one of the Marvel movies, except what if something different happened, and how would the ripple effect change everything else in the universe from that point? So it's literally just that for Gundam. I had the exact same thought process as Brand did, where I was like, okay, I've been waiting for them to fully remake this, especially since they started doing Origin, especially since if they had done a full adaptation of the Origin manga, that would literally be a remake of the original series, instead of just adapting the flashbacks. And I was absolutely thinking okay, we've only got 4 years left. 50th anniversary is absolutely the time to do this. My ideal version of it would be an adaptation of the Origin, because I think that's a much stronger version of that story than the original series. But to now, before they do that in any form, it was weird enough to kind of do all these sequels in a modern aesthetic that, the Origin, Unicorn, fucking, what was the Kukuru's whatever.
Kukuru's Dones Island.
Yeah, the episode that they dropped.
The lost episode.
Decided it was so bad that they couldn't show it in the series, and then in our most ironic of Monkey Paws, it's the only episode that gets remade. But yeah, the fact that we haven't actually gotten a proper remake of it, and you still have to go back to 1970s animation to experience that story in anime, yet all of these other things are based off of that. It's very strange. So I do still hope that they will go back to the original and do a full remake in 4 years or whenever. It looks like what Gundam 79 would look like from Kara, from the team behind the rebuild of Evangelion. I guess I'll keep an ear to the ground. I'm sure I'll hear updates from you guys and all my other friends about how it ends up going between referencing Universal Century stuff and whatever mindfuckery our old Gynax boys have in store. So if I hear anything intriguing, then I'll pick it back up. But for now, I'm just like, I don't need it.
Fair. You got me thinking now, if they want to do a remake of the original at some point, I wonder if it would make more sense for them to, rather than try to readapt the whole original TV series, which in itself was canceled 2 or 3 times and then rushed at the end and wasn't the full vision. I wonder if instead maybe they remake it, but the compilation movies. So maybe they do 3 movies remaking it, kind of like what they're doing with Hathaway. But I honestly don't know if that's the formula, because I feel like with Hathaway especially, it's okay, we're going to wait 4 years between every movie and forget about this series entirely.
Right.
So
Especially
Yeah.
since Hathaway grossed less than the first 3 episodes of this show in theaters.
yeah. Well, that's the other crazy thing is like who expected people to go see a film that you not only need to watch the original, you also have to watch Zeta and Double Zeta and Char's Counterattack and maybe
Sure.
read a novel or
right.
two. So
And that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
it
Like
was doomed
all
from
of
the
these
start.
big new properties like Hathaway and Unicorn, which was very successful, rely on all of this knowledge from 1970s and 1980s anime, which is
Yeah.
crazy.
I just feel like the anime, like just Gundam in general, the animes have not really been catered toward American audiences unless it is a spin-off that is not tied at all, like Iron Blooded Orphans or something. And they're like, yeah, the American
Right.
audience is gonna
Yeah.
love this, or like Wing,
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like anything tied to the UC is like made for the Japanese audiences, which is
But I feel like it's also made for the Japanese boomers specifically, because, like, I mean,
Yeah.
I guess it's just so culturally ingrained. I guess it's like Star Wars for Japan, so I guess that's why it's
Mhm.
acceptable. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, you're not
Basically,
wrong.
yeah.
It is their Star Wars.
Yeah,
So.
it's that
Yeah.
that time bracket, and the IP's been active for this entire time.
Yeah.
So they just assume everybody knows via osmosis, like,
Yeah.
what the deal is.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I would think the movies would be the stronger thing to go about it anyway, because those are generally considered the better presentation of the story. Because not only what you were saying, Bran, but also there's plenty of kind of fillery, non-important stuff in that original series too that the movies cut out
Yeah.
successfully, and I feel like you get almost the entirety of the experience cut down significantly. So you might as well just do the movies, or
Gets rid of the battle of the week formula, kind of.
yeah,
Yeah,
either movies or it'd be cool to see them do it in like a shorter OVA like season where it's like 6 or 7 episodes that are 50 minutes apiece or something like
That's
that.
what they did for both Unicorn and Origin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, films are just so lucrative nowadays too. With like, Demon Slayer and any other like modern release, I feel like.
Well, let's not use
It's-
film.
Right.
Movie.
There's films and then there's films.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, maybe that's not a good example, but I'm saying like monetarily, you
Yeah,
can see
no.
that like it is lucrative to do that, and I think putting Gundam in the theater would just like break the bank. So why wouldn't they go that route?
Yeah.
We'll see. Time will tell.
I would really love a proper adaptation of the Origin manga, but literally just any version of that original story that doesn't require going to its very dated, very low budget 70s TV animation would be just swell.
Yeah.
And both Unicorn and the Origin anime, and I guess episode 2 of this show, showed like really good modern representations of that kind of classic aesthetic. So yeah, I think they've got everything they need to make it happen.
The 50th anniversary is what we're holding out for.
Yep, 4 years.
4 more years.
Don't say that.
Maybe not a good time.
No.
Speaking of pining
greener
for alternate
pastures.
timelines.
Yeah. Holy shit, are we in the AU?
Bad end.
Okay.
Alrighty. Well, let's pivot here. We'll go from one hype series to the other, which was one of the ones I was looking forward to the most. And I think a lot of people were given the pedigree behind it.
Mhm.
And let's talk a little bit about Lazarus. So this is another one that I believe Kestrel dropped, and this one I have more of an understanding as to why, at least on its face. But first, I wanted to see what you were thinking of it so far, Bran, because I haven't heard your opinions one way or the other, really
Yeah.
at this point.
Yeah. I'm writing it out just because I'm a huge Watanabe fanboy. And I mean, I've watched basically everything he's made up to this point. this show in particular, at least 3 episodes in, is very style over substance. I don't know how much I'm vibing with the plot. It is a very just like pretty prototypical like kind of sci-fi movie concept. It's like, oh, everyone took this drug, amazing drug, and now everyone's gonna die from it. We got to find that guy. Let's assemble a team. And I've kind of just put that to the back of my mind and been like, okay, whatever you need to like set the universe up, I'm really here just to like see how it's executed. And I mean, it's fun so far. I know it's been joked that like the first episode is basically just like a parkour video the whole time.
It really is.
But honestly, if I get to watch like cool parkour animation with Kamasi Washington blaring on a saxophone in the background, like that's everything I ever needed. I'm pretty sure they made this anime just to trap me, just to get me in here. So like that's a big reason why I'm sticking to it, because Watanabe has always been very music centric with all of his series, and they usually have some kind of motif or theming, and the fact that 2 out of the 3 people scoring the soundtrack being Kamasi Washington and Floating Points, like 2 musicians like that I really love their stuff, I'm here to ride it out at this point.
Yeah, I think I'm in a similar boat to you as well. I don't have nearly the same affinity for Watanabe. Like I've seen obviously Cowboy Bebop and Samurai Champloo, and the big ones there. But the saying that kept running through my head as I was watching this, and hopefully at least one of you folks has heard this before, but it's too cute by half. So it's trying really, really hard to be clever and, charming and cool and slick. And I feel like it just comes off as, insincere. Like it's just trying way too hard. And in that way, I think it's tripping up on its own shoelaces because of it. Like we have an interesting cast of characters, but their dialogue is stilted because we have to the audience has to understand how cool and badass they are all the time, and they just lack a chemistry and things that is, I think, the most bothersome to me. Like the music is really great, the animation is fine. I have a problem with the blocking of it, or I guess the cinematography, you could say too. Like sometimes, especially when Axel's doing all this spinny shit, I lose references to where he is in the scene. In reference to the other characters, like, okay, he's doing spinny shit, but where is he doing the spinny shit at? Because they do a lot of like smash cuts and other things that can make it hard to keep spatial awareness. But the 2 big pieces to me are really like the dialogue and the chemistry that feels like super stilted and not organic at all. The biggest one that gets me, that I wanted to use here as an example, is when they're at the homeless encampment and they're looking for Jill, formerly Jerry, and when Jill is introduced, that's great. Like Axel, Dead names her once and then immediately stops and just goes right into talking to Jill and, referring to her as a woman and not missing a beat past that point. And that's really great. Like, I thought that was very cool. I was really scared of a oh no gay moment. Really, really scared. And then it didn't happen. And I thought, oh wow, this is really cool. Like we have some, progressivism here and they're just treating her like another character and everything. And then they get to the hut and they have the conversation and she just goes, I'm a transgender woman with a bankruptcy and I've been in jail, so I don't want to talk about our past and we shouldn't either. And then the other guy's like, I went to school and it was racist and I punched a guy and then they said there could never be a black Einstein. And I was like, there are better ways to do this. Like, there are better ways. You could be more subtle in the dialogue. Like, he could just be like, I went to school and this professor guy backed me in some of my hardest moments when I squandered that opportunity, and punched just figure out a way that it isn't just saying I went to racist school and things like that. Like, it just felt half baked the whole time, which I think is just indicative of the dialogue as a whole. Especially, man, when anyone talks about Axel, and it's just how fucking cool and awesome he is.
He just gets like, hey, want to 1v1 me in basketball? It's like, okay, time to style on this kid.
Yeah, and that would have been a great moment for him to get styled on, because then it shows that he's cool and acts cool, but there is a certain part of it that's a front. Like, that he may be hiding some vulnerability behind this, like, cool facade, because he acts all cool. It's like, yeah, let's play. And then if he gets completely annihilated, then you could see, like, he talks shit sometimes, but doesn't always back it up, which is an interesting character element. But instead, he just completely wastes that dude, and then is very aloof about it, of course, and then they leave. Or the time when, they're getting in the gunfight, and the blonde lady asks him, like, are you enjoying this? And he's like, am I making it that obvious? I was like, oh my fucking god.
I think a big part of why it feels more insincere is, at least compared to a lot of other Watanabe shows, most of his previous work is very character driven, but this show is very plot driven. So I feel like the characters do feel like caricatures. They're very much like playing a role, and like you said, like, if there was more time to, like, if we had a whole episode where we got to know this guy, maybe he doesn't have to just give us a one-liner like, I went to school and it was racist. Like, I just don't think they're giving enough time to give these characters, like, their genuine backstory in a more meaningful way, and that's why it maybe comes off a little ham-fisted.
Yeah, it does a disservice to their backstories.
Yeah. And yeah, like, it's great that it is included, because they are trying to, like, Watanabe's always made these shows, like, so diverse. He's already got, like, multiple languages spoken in the first couple episodes, and, like, very much, like, very multicultural vibe going on, but it's mainly to service moving the plot along, rather than like getting us more acquainted with the characters. Because this Axel is literally just like the rule of cool in a guy. He's just like rule of cool with legs.
Yeah, and it makes him less cool as a result, because at least for me, you have to be a complete character to be cool. If you're just cool all the time, then you're boring. Show me some vulnerability. Yeah. Because Spike had his vices and his weaknesses and vulnerabilities and things. And so far, Axel's just like a fucking one-man army of coolness that just kind of, feels trite. But I'm gonna stick with it as well, hoping that maybe we get some of those moments later on and it's just rushing through all these like big grand story elements. And then maybe it'll get a little more intimate later, as they sort of zero in on finding this professor guy, and the team gets some time to gel together. Because I also obviously noticed that Watanabe, they're trying to give you some development by being like, on this episode we're teaming these two together, and then we're teaming these two, and then the next episode it's different little sub teams. So you can start to see some individual relationships build. It's just not enough at this point.
Yeah. Speaking briefly on, you mentioned the blocking being weird for some of the like action scenes with Axel. Yeah. And I think this also maybe entails why his character feels this way so far. I feel like this character was literally made because they got the John Wick guy on board.
Yeah, exactly.
Chad Stahelski or whatever.
Yeah.
I feel like they made this character for him to do his thing. It was like, yeah, we'll give you all the choreography moments for this guy to do stuff, and that's about all we're gonna get. But yeah, I'm gonna stick through. It's not every day you get to watch a new Watanabe joint, so
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna stick it out.
Yeah, Kestrel, you made it through 2 episodes. So that was the parkour episode, and then the second episode is it's the lab investigation piece.
Which that was silly too. The way like at the end of it, like the cartel guys or whatever, and the Russian guys and the DEA, and they all show up all at once, and then it just kind of ends. They're like, "Oh, let's just hear this guy out because he's a sad loser."
Yeah, and then they all leave.
No, yeah, that was the craziest part. Is that everyone just left it alone? They're like, "Okay." Like, wait, is he not? Is what?
We have so many criminals and government agencies here. You think they would do something, and instead everyone's just like, "Well, you have a good day then," and then they just leave.
Yeah.
So yeah, Kestrel, since you dropped it after 2, you didn't get the full how cool Axel is experience.
As if that wasn't the entirety of episode 1 already.
Yeah, but in episode 3, he plays basketball, and he actually breaks several basketball rules during that scene.
He literally like breakdance trips a guy up and then jumps off him to dunk.
If you've seen the baseball episode of Samurai Champloo, that shouldn't be too surprising.
Fair.
They
do eat baklava, which I was a fan of. That was cool. I love that part.
So like Bran, Watanabe is a very important director in my anime education. Like Bebop and Champloo were the 2 series that I just watched over and 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 over. And Bebop especially, definitely one of the most formative to my appreciation of anime as like something that can be cool and mature and nuanced, and anime is more than just like Dragon Ball Z, cool fighting, big blasts, screaming. And other than like probably Miyazaki, he's probably the first like anime director who I was aware of and was like, okay, I need to see everything this guy makes. And I think other than like his Genius Party short film, I've seen everything that he's ever done. And yeah, I think he's a very good director, and it's exciting to have him back. And, he generally works on originals, and this is a new original, and really the first thing that he's like properly directed since 2014, because Carol and Tuesday and Space Dandy were both, he was, the supervisor, but he wasn't like the director. So yeah, it's exciting to see him really back in the director's chair for the first time properly in over a decade. And it's got his style, and style over substance is definitely the phrase that popped into my head as well. So I'm glad we agree on that. I think a few issues. One, maybe he's, more used to telling these kind of stories over the course of 2 cores. And he was only given 1 this time. And, I gotta say, like, DeMarco keeps trying, and I feel like he keeps missing. Like, one thing or another goes wrong every time. But the choreography from the John Wick guy, I will mention, so I saw Watanabe in Los Angeles at the beginning there. He had a panel for the show, and they screened the first episode, and he talked about it a bunch, and there's a lot of really interesting stuff that came out of that. So he did mention that specifically the first episode was not worked on by the John Wick guy at all. So he was not responsible for any of the parkour, but from episode 2 on, most of the action sequences were not only storyboarded by him, but he actually shot them all in live action first for reference. So that might inform some of the decisions that don't seem as natural for animation. But yeah, that was a big part of it. And then I think the other reason that things maybe seem a little hollow compared to what you usually get is that Watanabe is a very good director. He is not an experienced writer, and he is trying to write this thing himself. He always has other really skilled, experienced writers working on the projects with him, and he's really good at translating their story into a visual medium and giving it that style and that visual impact. But he's not that much of a solo storyteller without that kind of nuanced character backing that these other writers give him. So he's a great collaborator in that respect. Like, he knows how to pick and work with writers the same way he knows how to pick and work with composers. But it's not necessarily his strong suit. And it's the same way I feel about, like, Mamoru Hosoda. I think all of his movies that were written by Satoku Okudera are great, and he does a great job directing her writing. But once he starts writing his own movies, I think they go way downhill.
Yeah.
So I think it's a few issues going into the production of this series. I think he's definitely trying to hit all his, kind of greatest hits. But what you end up with is just kind of like, okay, ChatGPT, spit out Shinichiro no Watanabe show. Which, it's more than that, but it does feel like, it's missing some of the components that have been so effective in tandem with his directorial style in making, Cowboy Bebop the generational, impactful masterpiece that it was.
Yeah, and it almost feels unfair comparing certain elements, because I do think Mappa are cooking to an extent. I think like the characters look great, and the environments look all right, but just like this happens a lot with this like future retro aesthetic where they're trying to be, it's like realism mixed with a little bit of sci-fi, and I feel like it just doesn't, it still feels too sterile compared to like Bebop, where that shit was grimy and felt lived in, and like every corner of the screen in that show, you can feel the wear and tear and the age and just like it felt so much more lived in. Whereas I don't know, this, and even like Carol and Tuesday had a similar problem with its like Mars, but also it looks just like, New Orleans. It had like it tried to go for a grungy aesthetic, but it was still too clean looking. And yeah, it's hard. It's going to be hard to compare that to like what the OGs at Sunrise did, but
yeah, I think like, when we were talking about this season going into it, we were like, wow, some exciting stuff there. We've got a new Gundam series from the, old Gainax veterans behind Eva and Fooly Cooly and Gunbuster and everything. We've got a new original series from Watanabe. It looks really stylish, looks really Bebop-like. But it does kind of feel like these are all the old guys just kind of pulling out what they were either big fans of, or, which is what Anno always does now, or what they were really successful for in the past. Like, I forgot to mention it, but like for the Gundam show, not only do you have all these very clear visual parallels to the 79 series, but you have shot for shot from Ava, from Fooly Cooly, from Gunbuster, etc. Which is, those guys, they're cute. That's what they like to do. They've done that since the early Gainax days. But the same kind of thing here, where it's like, what if Spike was even cooler and was even better at doing crazy John Wick parkour choreography? And, it's just kind of like the exaggerated version of what people all loved, but not necessarily everything that made them love it.
Yeah. Man, Anno really is the final form of like a fan fiction writer.
Oh, so much.
He's like reached the peak.
Like, he hasn't made anything that wasn't a new version of the shit he grew up on in like 20 years.
Good for him, though. Yeah. I feel like, the Lazarus situation is understandable for like if you're not on board for the rest of it. It's still just for me. I don't know. I'm gonna stick through just because it is also only like a single core. Like, if this is really all it's gonna be, they're not gonna like surprise second half announce at some point. I feel like I'll stick it through, see what's happening.
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was like, yeah, I'm in the same boat. It isn't bad enough that I would drop it. It's just not something I'm looking forward to every week. Like, when it comes on, I will watch it and I'll probably enjoy it, but it isn't as much of a blockbuster in a way that I thought it was going to be, where it's like, today's Lazarus Day, baby.
Right, exactly. Yeah. It, like the Gundam show, I feel a little bit of FOMO dropping them, but I'm trying to, like, intentionally force myself out of that mindset. But both of them are in the same boat of like, all right, if I hear that it really lives up to the potential that was teased before the show started, then I'll come back around to it. Because, yeah, it feels weird, having grown up on Bebop and watched everything that Watanabe has done, to now not see this one through. But, it's not like they're movies. It's still an investment of, 12 episodes or whatever. So,
yeah,
we'll see.
If you love
What
it,
if-
let it go.
Like, I was trying to come up with a good analogy of what the experience of G-Quacks in theaters was like. And I think it's like, what if Lazarus just opened up and it's just fucking Spike Spiegel, and, like, I don't know, Vicious kills him in episode 1 of Bebop.
Oh my god.
And then it's just Vicious's story, and then starts a new series. Like, that's what G-Quacks, the theater experience, was like.
Jesus. That is gnarly.
Yeah,
When you put it
that would be a
way.
rough go.
They haven't made any mention in Lazarus of it being connected universe, right? They haven't said like Wulongs or anything.
Yeah, I don't think so. He might
No,
drop
they
something
haven't
in there,
mentioned.
though. He always does.
Yeah.
Because what? The Space Dandy and Carol and Tuesday both do the Wulongs, right? So
Yeah.
those are the only thing, like, really connecting them to Bebop. I guess.
Yeah, I believe.
There are a few other references, yeah.
Oh man, if we get a Space Dandy reference, I'll be so happy. That's the saddest part for me. As much as I love his like big pedigree shows with Bebop and Shampoo, I just am sad that I don't think a show like Space Dandy will ever happen again.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
I don't know. It was fun to, like, hear him. He had another panel where he kind of went through his career and his perspective on why he made each show. And so for, like, Space Dandy, he was like, yeah, everything I was making was too serious, so I decided to make a show that had absolutely nothing serious in it at all. And then that was too far in that direction, so then I made Terran Resonance, which has absolutely no comedy at all.
Oh yeah, that's wow. I'm a mad lad.
Yeah.
Alrighty. I think we can safely move on to our third show that we're going to talk about a little bit, which in a way sort of has its own pacing issues, kind of like what Kestrel you were mentioning with Lazarus and how Watanabe normally has 2 cores and it has 1, and that is Anne Shirley with an E. So the reason that I say that is in case none of you folks knew, which I imagine you do, but maybe someone out in the audience doesn't. This is not the first adaptation of this as an anime. So there is...
I was going to say, this probably has as much pedigree as the last 2 things we've talked about, if not more, or as much as Gundam almost.
So the original anime adaptation of this is, I believe, from like 1974 or 75, something like that, and it is directed by one Isao Takahata.
Never
and yeah, some whatever nobody guy with another, now not nearly as involved as one would think, but Hayao Miyazaki also worked on the original as well. And I think, Kestrel, you could correct me here or expand, but I believe this was kind of not the origin, but the first sort of sparks of Studio Ghibli because of their working together, like starting a relationship and stuff. But that show and this probably differ the most, not just from the, artistic perspective, being from the 70s and now, but in the intense differences in their pacing. So, for example, Anne Shirley, the new show, covers in about 6 minutes what took the original an entire episode to even get close to covering. And I know that it has been something that other folks have talked about and has been a little bit of whiplash for people, especially those who read the book or books in that case. So I'm not sure if any of you guys had a comment on that, because as someone who hasn't read the books and only watched the first couple episodes of that original series, I really don't mind the pacing. Like, it's not bothering me. It's fast, but the opening shows a grown-up version of Anne, so clearly they have to get to that point. So I'm not sure how, to start off, if you guys felt the same way, if it's really quick or you don't notice it, or your thoughts.
Yeah, that's a tough one. My recollection of the story of Anne of Green Gables is fragmented pieces of like the 1980s live action adaptation. So I can't like judge how fast they are moving compared to like other things that are going on. I know the 1980s adaptation was, a mini-series, so it wasn't that long. And for somebody, I read that somebody online who
4-hour mini-series.
Yeah, and I read that somebody that read the book online commented that the most of the stuff the anime is cutting out is the parts where she's like talking about like religious stuff or being like Sunday school and quoting the Bible and shit like that, because the author was super religious. So that's not entirely surprising that most of that stuff's been cut out. And is focusing more on the character-driven stuff.
Right. Yeah, and I think part of the fast pacing that I actually enjoy is we get more bite-sized pieces of Anne's personality in some smaller morsels. Like, I'm very, very charmed by this series, to be, blunt and out in the open. Like, I really like Anne, and this series really has its hooks in me, and I love it. But she will not shut the fuck up.
That's her thing.
Yeah, but for me at least, the fast pacing helps with that, because she'll be talking and then we'll cut to something else, or we'll see the results of that a little more immediately than in the 70s show, where, man, that wagon ride from the train station to the house, she talked for like 8 minutes straight. And Emily, when we were watching it together, she was like, I don't know if I can take this. So it's nice to have it be broken down in bite-sized pieces, and I feel like it makes her a little more endearing for folks like me who can't just handle unbridled childhood imagination for that long.
Yeah. She's a lot.
Yeah. It definitely is.
I don't believe I've actually read or seen any of the other adaptations, which, looking at the Wikipedia page, it's insane how many versions of this there are. Like, books, live action, animation, like so many comics. But as someone who doesn't have any experience with those stuff, I think the pacing is fine.
Yeah.
It's honestly, in my perspective, a little slower compared to like a normal TV anime where, like, there's not a lot actually going on outside of Anne just like rambling on and on. But it is extremely charming, and I feel like the slower pacing adds to that, in that like you're supposed to just be kind of taking it all in.
Right.
And like the beauty of it's almost like watercolor backgrounds. Just like really stunning, and it's one of those shows where like I don't need it to go anywhere really. Like now that she's like living at Green Gables, it's like, all right, we're chilling. Just like don't get in too much trouble and get kicked out, and we're good. But no, yeah, this show. It's funny because I only knew of its pedigree because of the OG Takahata anime, and not realizing like how much more besides that it has come back time and time again. But yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying it for what it is. It's very different from anything else I'm watching this season, so it's like kind of a breath of fresh air.
Yeah,
Literally.
I can see that. What do you think of Anne's, like, I'm gonna call it theatricality?
Yeah, no, I love it. She's so over the top, and I think it's a great
trolly.
juxtaposition. It's very she's such a troll. Like,
Yeah.
the way she tries to like apologize to that lady was so funny.
Oh, Rachel.
Rachel, yeah, Miss Rachel.
Yeah, she sucks.
Yeah, it's so funny because the second that lady started talking, I'm like, wow, this lady is like the goat of voicing annoying old ladies, because I've heard her in so many other anime. But I do love Anne juxtaposed to my second favorite character so far is Matthew. Just like this big bear of a man that like really doesn't say much. He just kind of like blankly stares at her as she's rambling on at him. It's just like really cute.
Well, because he's smitten with her almost instantaneously.
Yeah, he's like, we can't take her back.
Which I think is a boon to the pacing of the show as it sits now. Because in that first episode, you get to see like the whole wagon ride back. And a lot of it is him just sitting there silently.
Yeah.
But in here, you get a little bit of that. And then you get, Matthew talking to Marilla about what he thinks of her and stuff. So I think it allows you to see the results of Anne, charming him a little bit more quickly. But yeah, I also like Matthew a lot too, how he's kind of like, he's very much the soft hand. He's the big teddy bear pushover.
Yeah. I was surprised that Marilla warmed up to Anne as quickly as she did too. I thought it would be a much slower progression getting on her good side, but it is kind of like a tug of war where like she really appreciates having her there and she very much cares for this girl, but she is constantly scolding her too. So yeah. It just goes back and forth. I thought it was going to be more of a like she really doesn't want this girl here, and then after like 6 to 12 episodes, she's going to be like, you know what? You are Anne of Green Gables.
Yeah,
but
they said it.
Yeah. But we
I
got that a lot sooner than I expected, I guess.
I think part of that is not only that Anne herself is as charming as she is and, can kind of open people up just by being herself, but also when they took her back to like the pseudo orphanage and Marilla saw like the huge witch that she was going to be leaving Anne with. Yeah. There's a little bit of guilt there that propelled that along a little bit more than if whoever Marilla was dropping Anne off with was a little bit more of a, good person. Mm-hmm. So I like Marilla a lot too. She's my second favorite character, if only because I love that she is more pragmatic and stern and will be a driving force in Anne's life, like raising her and things, but knows, when to turn it back a little bit, when to indulge Anne every so often and things like that. So she's a really well-balanced character. And I like that she, at least in her own way, privately likes Anne's shenanigans. She just can't show it to Anne because she has to be that sort of stern mother type character, because Matthew's not going to do anything. She's going to walk all over Matthew.
Yeah.
But like when she was punishing Anne for putting Rachel on blast and then going downstairs and she chuckles after going downstairs, I was like, that's right. That bitch deserved it. Kate, what are you thinking of it so far?
It's
because
beautiful.
I know you had mentioned you had read the books, right? Or at least some of them.
No, I haven't read anything. I've
okay.
I've only seen parts of certain adaptations. It's a beautiful adaptation. It's a beautiful looking show. I love the watercolor backgrounds. Everything's beautiful. They're not like it would be easy to half-ass this and not like, go, but they had to outdo the animation. There had to be a reason for them to do this. So yeah, they're putting a lot of love into it. And it looks great. And
yeah, I like the
acting's
watercolor
great.
backgrounds like Bran was saying. Or at least the skies.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean it's been pretty fantastic so far. It does kind of, it does, like, if you cannot tolerate, like, Motormouth little child, like, then it's probably not, going to be, like your cup of tea, but it is wildly inoffensive and that is kind of refreshing, considering how many things are just, it's like anime, and then it's like, no, we are going to, stick us close to this weirdly, like, very old story, and make yet another adaptation of this very old story. It still just weirds me out that Japan is obsessed with this story.
Yeah. I think I read like an article about that original series, and they interviewed some people who lived in the like area that Green Gables takes place, which is it's not like Sweden or anything like that.
Oh, it's Prince Edward Island up in Canada.
Right. Okay. And they said like a lot of their tourism after that came out was from Japanese people, like the vast majority, because of that that old anime that. They were coming to visit Prince Edward Island and experience where Anne of Green Gables lived and everything, which is super surprising. It's endearing, but very surprising.
It's very funny too, because it's not based off a true story. It's like the author like took her childhood home and used it as the setting for this book. So. Yeah, like, yes, she lived in that area and she based it off of her aunt's house, and that's what makes it even funnier, because it's like, yeah, the locations are real, but like the story's not real.
Yeah. From what I know, besides the influence of the 70s anime, which, fun fact, came out the same year as the original Gundam. They're both from 79.
Nice.
But something that I think I saw was the original novels were one of the biggest translation projects for post-war Japan, and it was like such a big hit with women in post-war Japan, which is probably why the 70s anime got as big as it did. But yeah, it was funny. I got my girlfriend to watch the first episode with me, and she's like, why would they make an anime of this? And I'm like, you do not understand the impact that this show has in Japan. It's actually very crazy.
Yeah, and it was not technically the first of this series, but the first one under this label of World Masterpiece Theater, which was a long-running Japanese anime anthology series adapting Western works.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of those had that kind of impact, and previous to this, Takahata and Miyazaki also worked on Heidi, which was also huge in Japan, and probably made a lot of tourism for the Alps. And that was from World Masterpiece Theater by a different name before it was called that. So yeah, it's kind of been like a formula in classic anime production for many decades, that you take a classic Western book and adapt it.
Is there one for Treasure Island?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
I want to say yes. Like, I've seen stills of it.
Yeah.
Many moons ago, but when you said World Masterpiece Theater, the Western adaptations, my brain immediately went, oh yeah, like Treasure Island. Even though I've never seen a single second of its animation, if it even exists. Like,
there is no Treasure Island in World Masterpiece Theater. There
Okay.
is Animal Treasure Island, which Miyazaki worked on.
That is probably what I'm
Wow.
thinking of then.
Yeah.
Is the Animal Treasure Island one because of the Miyazaki connection.
Yeah.
Brains are weird. Uh, yeah, so I'm wondering how the talkative, wild imagination portion of the story from Anne is going to translate when it is dubbed in English. If only because there's a part of me that was more like welcoming of the blathering when it's in a foreign language for some reason. But maybe if I were to watch the dub and I have to listen to young girls speaking English for long periods of time, I don't know if that'll fuck with me. But at least as of this point, I think it's made very, very well in that regard. Also, I'm basically cheering for Anne in any conflict she has. So when she busts that chalkboard over that kid's head, I was all about it.
Yeah.
That
He was all about it too.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
exactly.
true. That's true. That got him going.
I was so funny. I was waiting for that. I'm like, oh, great, cool. We're gonna get to the breaking of the slate over his head scene. And I'm like, I need to see. I'm like, let's see if they understood the assignment. 3 different angles in slow motion. Ka-ching! I was
Yeah.
like, they understood the assignment. Okay.
I need a meme redubbing of it with Jerry the King Lawler from WWE as if she's breaking a chair over his head. I need that in my veins soon. But yeah, that's definitely, I think, outside of the new shows, that's my favorite of the season, and it's not particularly close
Damn.
at this point.
it's a really good adaptation. It's a really good presentation of the story.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm hoping that it continues that portion. I'm not sure how long they're going to stay in childhood Anne mode because they are going to, I think, cover multiple books as a part of this. And I know as the books go, she grows up, and in the opening theme, they show an adult version of her. So
Somebody said the first 3 books, which would... Oh, I have to look it up.
also, is it just me or does Matthew look like Kenny Rogers? Because I was thinking that also the whole time.
It's kind of funny. I posted a link to the book online because the book is so fucking old. Of course, it's online for free. I found the description of how he's described, and he's described looking in the book the way he looks in this adaptation, with the beard and the kind of long hair. And all of the live action ones do not have him looking accurate to the way he's described in the book. So I thought that was kind of funny. I'm like, yeah, he's described as having a full beard and kind of long hair. And so I'm using that no other adaptation seems to get that right. So, hey,
Yeah, that was the first thing I thought when he came on. I was like, oh, she's going to be raised by Kenny Rogers. It's like, excellent. All right, I think that covers, outside of Apothecary Diaries, but I know we wanted to kind of just cover that more lightly since we have talked about that in the past in depth. So maybe we'll come back to that one then. But I wanted to cover one other show at least before we maybe go off on some individual little recommendations or tangents here. But I believe Kestrel, you and Brain are watching To Be Hero. And is that supposed to be an X or To Be Hero cross?
I believe it is actually X this time.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Awesome.
It is.
It's always a minefield.
Yeah, it's true.
So, yeah, I'll pass the mic over to you guys because you wanted to talk about this one a little bit, and it seems like it's pretty good. Kestrel gave it that B+, so...
Fran, did you ever watch any of the original To Be Hero?
So I have. I feel like I'm one of maybe 10 people who
I
like,
watched at least an episode or 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so weird how that this series has come to this point too, because the original one was very strange. So, for context, the original, which I know 2B Hero X is it's like a Japanese Chinese co-production, I believe.
Yeah.
I feel like the original one was just Chinese animation. I'm not sure, but
No, it was the same.
it was okay.
Yeah.
But the first one was almost just like a short, and it was about like this like loser dad who like all of a sudden like gained the power to be like a superhero, and it was like just kind of slapstick, goofy, weird, kind of horny, just like very strange short like anime shorts. And then they made a sequel called To Be Heroine, and it was a little bit more like standard formula, and of course it followed like a girl that was like a hero, a little more action focused, a little more superhero esque. And both of these just flew under the radar. Like no one was talking about these shows, and there was years gaps between each of them. I feel like To Be Heroine came out at least 5 years ago. So when I saw that this was coming out and it looked as crazy as it does, I was like, how did this not only get the money, but like there's like a bunch of it's got Hiroyuki Sawano on the music,
Mhm.
and I know the staff has like a bunch of like industry vets like working on it. I just like don't know where it pulled all this clout from to become what it is.
Yeah, it's so bizarre that this is part of the same franchise.
Yeah.
So the creator, the original To Be Hero was actually created, written, and co-directed by Lee Howling, who directed Link Click and Heaven Official's Blessing. So he's like and he actually founded and I think owns the studio Howliners. It's named after him, which is also known as Emon, EMON, which is the kind of studio that does all the Chinese-Japanese co-productions. So he's like the most prominent person in the kind of Chinese animation getting into the anime industry collaboration. And so I think he's made a huge name for himself over the past 10 years through those other projects. I think this was an early work for him. And yeah, it was really weird. And it was co-directed by Shinichi Watanabe, no Ro on his name, who is the director of all the fucking crazy off-the-walls slapstick anime series. So like Excel Saga was a really well-known one of his. And yeah, so it kind of follows his style in terms of the humor and everything. And yeah, I don't know if it's just like this was Lee's like passion project. It was his original thing. It's his original IP. Well, I guess Link Click is now too, but it was his first original IP that he made. And so he was like, okay, well, I've got all of this clout now. I've got all these connections. I've got all this experience. Let's make something like actually good. That's technically the same franchise. It's still such a bizarre choice to set it in this franchise at all. But whatever. It's fucking great music, of course. Sawano and his protege, Yamamoto. The animation style is crazy. It's like, I don't want to say it's at the level of Arcane, but it's definitely taking from the aesthetic of Arcane.
It's inspired for sure.
Yeah. And then, it breaks into all these other animation styles for different kind of sequences, very stylized for flashbacks and like, sequences of media within the show. Much of it very stylized like American comic books. So yeah, it is super weird.
It is just like once again, like comparing it to like it originally being like a pretty shittily made short to now
literally shitty.
Literally
toilet
shitty.
humor.
Yeah, actual toilet humor to now, like you said, it's very Arcane inspired, not to the same level of animation, but still like you've not seen anything like this for a TV serialized anime before. It's far and away like the most visually different thing I've seen in a very long time. And yeah, it's just very trippy to see this franchise come to this point.
Absolutely bizarre. I want to see someone like get into this show and then be like, "Oh, I guess I should go back and check out the original now," and just see their reaction.
Yeah.
Insane.
Oh yeah, there was okay. The one thing I will say, I think visually it's a feast. It's a really fun show to watch. Something about the pacing of the story and the way it's told, it feels like a mobile game ad. Is like the best way I can describe it.
Yeah.
It's just like it hits you with the, oh, this guy's a loser, this guy's a loser. Oh, now level 100, you're the best. It just feels
true.
like a weird ADHD fueled story.
Kind of that TikTok kind of pacing.
Yeah, yeah, very much like it's like a TikTok. This show is probably made to be broken up into 12 TikToks every week.
Yeah.
But aside from that pacing, that I'm getting too old for this kind of pacing.
Yeah.
It's an interesting watch. So like, I'm gonna keep watching it. I have no idea where the story's. I don't even know. I can't even tell. I've only watched 2 episodes, but I really can't tell if it's going to stick with the current story. It feels like it's moving in a way that like I don't know what's gonna happen next.
I mean, so the weird thing is like all the promotional material, the opening, ending, everything, the main character is not our main character.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely curious to see what ends up happening with that. I assume he's the main antagonist. But yeah, I agree about the pacing. It's definitely jarring, and I feel like it's maybe hampered a bit by trying to hold on to some of its origins as a gag comedy. Because it can be like really sincere a lot of times, but it spends a lot of time still being like weird off the walls crazy comedy, and I don't think it's that effective at balancing the two. It's like better than some examples, but yeah, it feels strange. And yeah, I'm curious to see where the story goes. Like, it kind of plays on the, Japanese mythology tropes of, heroes, in this case, powered by people's beliefs in them, and it does some interesting things with that. And we've seen that adapted into a lot of different things over the course of anime. I guess it's East Asian religion in general. So yeah, it could go a lot of interesting places with that premise. So far, it's been pretty episodic, pretty, character of the week driven. But it's definitely playing at a larger narrative, and the kind of foreboding that's surrounding the presumably antagonist does give me the kind of vibes of like Link Click and how he's structured that series. So I think it definitely has potential, and yeah, infinitely better than a fucking To Be Hero show had any right to ever be.
Yeah, for real.
But
this is one of the rare cases where I would do my best not to recommend anyone watch anything before this.
Right. I will do my best to make everyone think that there was never anything before this.
Yeah.
You're like, oh yeah, no, they just have a similar title. They're actually unrelated entirely.
Yeah, it's wild that in the season that we're getting this like mindfuck alternate universe Gundam, this is the show that's the biggest curveball for me.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird season. Like everything we've talked about, it's like, okay, Gundam, but it's a new universe. But what if it's not a new universe? What if it's the original story, but an alternate universe, and it's by the Ava guys? And then we've got To Be Hero, but instead of a weird, perverted, low-budget toilet humor show, it's an arcane-inspired Asian religion hero epic. And then what if What if Anne of Green Gables is back, and what if Watanabe is making Spike even cooler this
Fuck
time?
it. Spike Part 2.
Yeah, with parkour and the Chad from John Wick, and what else can we come up with? Yeah,
Yeah.
weird season.
This
Interesting
is
to talk
the
about. I guess.
the dartboard idea season. Just
Yeah, seriously.
boink. Yeah.
Interesting to talk
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, if anything, it's certainly made it one of the seasons that has greater variety
For
in
sure,
some
yeah.
ways, because we're just all over the map with these shows that we're all watching and such, rather than previous seasons where it's just been like season 2 of this and season 4 of that and season 1 core 2 of this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
To be fair,
'cause, like,
besides what we've talked about, basically all my other shows are sequels.
I was just gonna say, like,
half of
every
them.
like last season where Sakamoto Days was the only new show I started. Technically, everything that I haven't dropped is like part of an existing series or franchise. Obviously, this is a completely new story. Umu Musume has a completely new story, but yeah, it's a lot of old franchises, and yeah, I feel like all the shows we've talked about are kind of like a really weird line between original and adaptation. So like
Yeah.
Gundam, it's technically an original story, but it's, the original Gundam story from 46 years ago with a bunch of Gainax tropes and then a new story folded over that. Lazarus is a completely new story, but it's just Watanabe up to his old shit again. Then Anne of Green Gables is obviously not at all a new story, but it's not like a manga adaptation where you just one-to-one every frame. You're going to have some creative input in an adaptation of a classic Western novel. And then this is an existing franchise, but absolutely nothing like anything that came before it. So,
This is like the Nepo baby season.
yeah, exactly.
They're like so many of these franchises we've talked about are indebted to years and years of history.
Right. Like none of the shows we've talked about so far would exist if not for at least 10 years of successful anime history.
Yeah. Jeez, that's nuts. And One Piece is back.
And One Piece is back, that's right.
One Piece is never going away.
It went away for 6 months.
Yeah.
Sorta, kinda.
Sort of.
It was still airing. It was just, wasn't it remakes of earlier arc or something like that?
Yeah, just Dragon Ball Kai version.
Oh, there you go. Alrighty, well, we have a little bit of time left here, so we can do any individual shoutouts we want. But before that, necessarily, I know I talked about this a little bit before we started recording, but I would really like to hear a little bit about Apocalypse Hotel from Kate, because one of the shows I'm watching, Zatsutabi, Go Japanese Tourism Board, that could easily be benched by another show if something of quality is out there. And I've been hearing good stuff about Apocalypse Hotel. So, Kate, would you please educate me?
There's only room for one tourist show in this season.
So, Apocalypse Hotel is an original thing, not based on something that exists, manga, light novel, or otherwise. It is... goes with the premise of what if what if Wall-E, except for instead of following a little trash bot around, we are following the remaining robot staff of a robot staffed hotel on a human deserted Earth. So we progress it, like they give you like quick snapshots of like what happened, why are humans not here, and then we go to this humanoid looking android girl who was one of the maids for the hotel, and she is currently the manager in charge, and over the course of the first episode we kind of find out why that is that she's in charge, and she's trying to hold it together, and she goes through the same routine every day of like making sure everything in the hotel is spick and span and spotless, and everything is exactly the way it should be. And she has a little staff of like the other remaining robots there, which most of them are not humanoid whatsoever. They look like, basically like very nicely designed, functional robots.
I saw the one promotional image, and I thought they all looked like if robots were exclusively designed by Dyson.
Yeah, basically, like they're very a lot of them are very rectangular. There's one that's just like the luggage cart, but it like moves itself around, and yeah, they are all very realistic looking robot designs, except for the android maid girl, who looks like an android, who looks like a girl, and the animation in the show is fantastic. Everything looks very good. The characters are fantastic. The little robots, aside from the android maid girl and most of the robots do not have like names. They have like she has
functions.
A name. I can't remember. Yeah, they have names that are basically their functions. Like one is like the bug catcher robot. Like its sole purpose basically is to like run around and get zap bugs. It's a bug zapper that runs around and zaps bugs. That has been given the secondary job of watching the front desk when she's not watching the front desk. But most of them just respond in beeps and boops and like gestures. So that's kind of fun. It's not as episodic as I thought it would be, because the episode 1 leads into episode 2. So, and it's clear that there's time is progressing and the plot is going to progress, but it is surprisingly humorous and surprisingly kind of depressing, and extremely weird. It has. I don't want to give any spoilers away for what happens at the end of the first episode and the second episode, but the first guest they actually get in a very, very, very long time is not at all what I thought it was going to be, and it is probably one of the most interesting designs of anything I've seen in a long time. So, yeah, if you're looking for like a good post-apocalyptic story that it still has a somewhat hopeful edge to it, but is also weirdly kind of, I don't know. It's neat. Everybody should check it out. It's very cool.
Huh. It reminds me of the manga I was reading at your house, Kestrel.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Yokohama.
Yeah, Kaina Shikiko. Yeah.
There it is. Yeah, that's. Yeah, that. Your description was giving me big vibes of that, and I really like that manga a lot. So I'll definitely have to check out the show based off of that stuff. And the fact that it's another original story is cool too. I'm always willing to give those a shot as long as they're not hideous from the get-go. I'll certainly give that a go. But
it's got one of my favorite opening things that anime does, which is dancing. They're just dancing in the opening, and I'm all like, and the music's pretty good, and I'm like, yep.
That.
I'm like, somebody made this show just for me.
That's one of your big gets.
That's one of my big gets. I love it when they do that for no particular reason. It's like, this has nothing to do with anything. They're just dancing. And that's great.
What were you gonna say, Bram?
This show, just based off of some of the images, feels like the most like PA Works coded show that isn't a PA Works show that I've seen in a minute. But Psy Games, interesting. I really like the premise of this one, but I already have so many shows I'm watching. We'll see if any of them end up in the bin. Maybe I can do a hot swap.
Yeah, I don't know if you've got any that are getting awfully close to Ride the Pines, so...
I feel like the ones I'm most disappointed with so far are sequels, and I'm like, I'm already this deep, but
You're right, exactly.
We'll see.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'll definitely give it a shot because I'm 3 episodes through Zatsutabi and it's okay. It's better if you frame it as an educational piece than an anime with characters and drama and a story. If you view it as just a 20-minute long PSA every week, it's a little more effective. But yeah, I'll most certainly give this a watch. But all right, was there anything that anyone else wanted to talk about a little bit individually for some shout-outs? Bran, I know, you're watching 10 shows. Kestrel, you're watching a handful as well. And outside of To Be Hero, we only talked about the ones that you decided not to watch anymore. So I feel like that is a little unfair. But I didn't know if you guys had anything else you wanted to shout out for one reason or another. Feel free.
I think the only other one on my list worth shouting out is probably Yaiba, which I feel like this show is very specifically nostalgia coded for people who are into retro stuff. Like if anyone's been into the recent like Ranma 1/2 remakes or the what's her name? The alien girl. What was that?
Urusei Yatsura.
Yeah, like Urusei Yatsura. Very, very that era coded because this is also like a readaptation of an 80s anime. So the story is very straightforward. It's like this kid grew up in the jungle learning samurai from like his weird deadbeat dad, and then he moves to Tokyo and he's just trying to fight everyone he sees, and he comes across this dude that's very much like a by the books, like at a dojo and stuff, and it's like his very practical style versus his like wild jungle style, and they become like faded rivals. But this show specifically is when you have like that nostalgic feeling about a show you used to love, and the way you see it in your mind and how the action played out in your mind when you were a kid watching it, but then you go back and watch and you're like, oh, this is actually not that, doesn't look as good as I remember. Yaiba to me is what the nostalgia does to your brain when you do remember what something looked like.
Yeah, that's how I talk about the new Bleach. Like the new Bleach looks like how my brain makes me think the old Bleach looked like.
Yeah, that's fair. That's my biggest selling point on Yaiba, is that it's like one of the hottest pieces of animation right now, and like if you can get past the simplistic and like very old school type of characters, it's just like a feast for the eyes. Just some crazy action animation.
And it's the Conan guy, so everyone is very pointy.
Yeah. Oh, that makes so much sense. I was like, these character designs, the main girl specifically, she literally looks like female Conan. Yeah. But no, very, very fun so far.
Yeah, I mean, everything else I'm watching, like I said, are sequels. I guess the one that isn't exactly is a spin-off is, as I alluded to, Umumusume. I am in fact watching. I never had any interest in the original series, certainly not the games. But I heard that the new movie that came out recently was like exceptional. And that doesn't have any license yet. But based on that and good things that I heard about the spin-off and the fact that I knew that you didn't need any prior knowledge of the franchise, I was like, sure, I'll give it a shot. And I give it a shot, and it's fun, and it's well animated. And I don't know, I feel like I'm watching like kind of exclusively I don't really know what adjective to use, but not the kind of stuff that Umumusume falls into, where it's kind of like your moe anime. It's not fan servicey, but it has that kind of vibe that I've mostly distanced myself from in recent years.
There's a certain type of person that really likes this show.
Yes, there's a certain type of person that really likes it. And getting a little bit of a taste of that back is kind of refreshing because it's kind of nostalgic for the 2000s, early 2010s, where I was watching a lot of anime of that genre. But it is like a sincere kind of sports anime, just with the silly premise that these are horse girls racing. But the fact that, that really only extends to the fact that they have horse ears and tails. Beyond that, it's just a pretty standard racing show. So it's got that kind of pandering aspect to it, and it's got some of your cute girls doing cute things tropes. But I think it does focus enough on real character work and real competitiveness that it kind of blends nicely.
And it's got that mobile game mogul money.
Of course, yes.
So that helps.
Yeah. It does feel less like a mobile game than 2B Hero X, which has nothing to do with a mobile game.
Yeah. That's funny. So wait, this is how is this not related to the previous Uma Musume seasons? Is it like a prequel or like a spin-off? Or...
Yeah, I think it's just like a spin-off, somewhere else in the universe. Like it doesn't cross paths with the characters of the first anime adaptation, and I think the movie is also yet a third one. It's just kind of one of those premises where, you establish that you can have all these characters, and I'm sure in the game you can spend lots of money to collect them all, and so they don't necessarily all need to exist in the same story. It's kind of like Love Live, right? Like, all the Love Lives kind of exist independently.
That makes a lot of sense. Why wouldn't you make a new product based on like, oh, this is the one everyone likes now?
Right, exactly, yeah. Yeah,
okay.
Everyone loved collecting this girl and spending all their gacha money on it, so why not make her the star of a show? I'm very undereducated on this topic, though, so I would have to look into it more to know the details. I just know that it is not like Uma Musume Season 4 or whatever they're up to. It is a new spinoff.
It's time to learn.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Bram, was there anything on your list that you wanted to shout out? Anything else? Or I know you talked about Yaiba. We got Kestrel coming in with the Uma Musume.
The only other non-sequel that, like, I think based on people's tastes might be worth checking out is Witch Watch. It's a Shonen Jump rom-com that I read the first, like, maybe 30 or so chapters of when it was first in Jump, and I kind of fell off, but I picked up the anime because I thought the comedy aspects of it, I think, would play out better with voice acting and animation. So it's been cute and fun so far. And also there's been some interesting aspects to it, like Megumi Ishitani made the OP animation for it, so it looks crazy. Just like overall, it's like a fun series that does like a good balance of the romance comedy, and then all of a sudden like a plot will kick in and it'll get like kind of dark and spooky for a second. In general, though, it's nothing too crazy if you're into rom-coms. It's from the guy who created Sket Dance and who was an assistant writer on Gintama. So if that's at all in your lane for humor, it might be worth giving it a shot. But yeah, been okay so far.
Sounds good. Kate, was there anything else you wanted to cover either? I'm pretty much cleaned out, so...
Did I cover everything I wanted watching? Wait, where's my list?
I think there's just Mau Mau left.
Mau Mau. Mao Mao. We talk about Mao Mao all the time. We don't need to talk about Mao Mao.
Yeah, big highlight. Their dicks now.
Yeah.
Now with dicks.
I love not
That's all you
knowing
need to know.
what that means.
If anything, that means you should start watching it so then you can catch up
Yeah.
and experience
Yeah.
it for yourself.
My only context for this is what you guys say about it, and then like when I have to look up screenshots from the show for the thumbnails, and I'm like, okay, piecing things together.
If you want to just throw a frog in this image, I think everyone will appreciate that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
That'll cover it.
And make it medium sized.
Medium-sized
Okay,
frog. Yeah.
like
Yeah, medium
Okay.
Kind of
sized.
big.
Like a good handful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
yeah.
There you go. You have your
Okay.
consensus.
All right, so we got King of the Hill Gundam, medium-sized frog. Anything else I need on the docket?
We'll
Could you
brainstorm.
have Matthew's body with Kenny Rogers' head on top?
There you go. We got it.
This is gonna be the most shitpost thumbnail I could find.
Oh, did someone already do this?
I was gonna say someone beat me to the King of the Hill Gundam crossovers.
All right.
These things
Awesome.
exist apparently.
Awesome. All right. Well, then I think since we covered all the cool stuff we're watching for this season, we can jump into some recommendations for things releasing on physical media, video games, movies, kind of just our general recommendations section. I'm not sure if any of you folks had any right off the dome that you wanted to have, if anything at all. But I know, Kestrel, you typically have one or two things.
I have lots of things. I've been watching lots of very good series that have nothing to do with anime.
Yeah.
But I guess since several of these series are on different streaming platforms, I can kind of tie it into that. So if you got Max for Lazarus, also Last of Us is back, so there's a new season of that to watch anyway. And just by episode 2 of that, it is kind of holy shit.
Yeah, please watch up to the second episode before you look up anything online.
Yes. If you haven't
already
already
know.
been spoiled
Yeah.
by the game.
Yeah, if you haven't been spoiled 10 years ago.
Right. No, it was 2020. Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, while you're there, something that is absolutely nothing like anime is a new medical drama called The Pit. Very, very good character work. Very creative structure. Very intense emotional investment all throughout. So highly recommend that. And if you're on Amazon Prime for that new Gundam, or Umumusume, which is also what's airing there, you can catch up on Invincible, which I also did. I recommended it last time. I was like halfway through the series, but yeah, that third season, especially its finale, was insane. So definitely recommend everyone catching up on that series as well. Let's see, there's nothing for anime on Netflix this season, so I don't think I can segue into that. But it's
Yaiba's on there.
Oh, Yaiba's on Netflix. Okay, perfect. If you're watching Netflix for Yaiba, this one is a little bit more kind of anime-pilled, maybe. It is a live-action Korean drama series called When Life Gives You Tangerines. It's kind of got like the, I don't know, the nostalgic kind of longing, melancholy feeling of like a Key show or a Shinkai movie, maybe. But it's just like this. I'm not finished with it yet, but so far it's been very, very good. It's a kind of generational look through, from the 1960s to present day of this one woman from her days as a young girl and her family, her daughter, everything that they go through growing up. And it's very sweet and cute, and emotional and heartbreaking. So, yeah, and funny sometimes. So, recommend all of those series a lot. If you're on the big franchise trains, Daredevil Born Again is the best that Marvel has been in a long time. It's not as good as the original Daredevil series, but it at least takes enough from it that it feels like it's a worthy sequel at least. And on the Star Wars side, Andor is back, and it still kicks ass, and is one of the best and definitely like most mature Star Wars has ever been. So yeah, we're getting some good stuff all around. I think that's all I have. Physical releases, I don't know off the top of my head any good ones that just came out. I guess I'll say going way back to our Composer episode, my Silent Voice vinyl that was relisted on Crunchyroll a few months ago has finally shipped from Crunchyroll, so that's out there.
Nice.
Yeah.
I have some from Light in the Attic I ordered 6 months ago that I think is finally coming.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm gonna do the opposite of what Kestrel did, because streaming has been not great for me lately in terms of like me just being like contrarian to using streaming services, even though I do have to use several of them to watch all the anime this season.
Yeah.
But on that note, I have been just going to like use DVD places and just like looking for OG stuff like from my childhood. So I recently picked up like a bunch of old collections of like Looney Tunes and Tom and Jerry on the cheap. So that's been fun. I picked up the entirety of Adventure Time and like a really, really cool like collector's edition. It's almost like the Enchiridion. It's like a book with like each sleeve for the different discs. So I've been really on my physical media grind. So the only recommendation I'm going to say is go to your local half-price books or wherever they sell old physical media and get your hands on something that you yearn for from your childhood.
I don't even know where a place like that would exist around here.
That's the hardest part. It's finding one.
Yeah, I think the only thing I really have to recommend at this point is, I mean, there's, as always, just an unconquerable slew of video games. But at this point, there's... I just started Blueprints, and if you like puzzle games, it's really good. Puzzly roguelikes.
Oh, there goes my recommendation.
I got you.
Damn.
That's really good. As I'm sure Kate can attest as well. Would highly recommend taking active notes, which is a fun experience in and of itself if you haven't done that in many years.
I have quite the notes going for that game. And the worst part is not knowing it with any of those. I mean, I've taken so many screenshots, and I'm playing on PS5, so I just I'm filling up my hard drive with screenshots for this, because I don't know if this is going to be important later.
Yeah, I know. I'm writing down notes as well, and part of the fun is being like, is this all bullshit that I'm just writing down right now, or does this mean anything at all? But
every time I walk into a room and see another chess piece going, I don't know shit about chess, and I'm sure this is going to be important later, and I don't know.
Is this a rook or a knight?
Yeah, I'm like, is that a pawn? Or I'm like, is this gonna lay out like a chess? I'm like, shit, fuck, I don't know. I'm sure this means something.
I'm so far behind on my games. I'm still like slowly enjoying Animal Well, but
yeah, that was the last puzzle. Well, no, I can't even say it's the last really puzzly game I've played, because that's not true. Because I definitely was playing Lorelei the Laser Eyes after that came out, and also the other Golden Idol game that came out last fall. Nice. We're in a good puzzle game renaissance of like games that really make you think.
Yeah. And on the other side of that, brain dead RPG mode, they just dropped that Oblivion remake thing. So I'm sure plenty of people are going to be playing that.
Oh yeah.
All I've seen from that is the character creation.
Yeah, all the like monstrous JD Vances.
Yep.
Yeah, it's so
man, I haven't checked any of that out. Oh, now I got a thing to look up.
Oh, it's
ready
great.
to kill some more popes.
Yeah. Oh dear. Oh Lord.
But yeah, that's what I got. I have one other game, but I'm gonna pass it over to Kate just in case she says this one too. So if you,
No, say it. I want to know which one you're talking about.
I'm actually not playing it, but Emily is. So I'm along for the ride from a spectator view.
Okay.
But South of Midnight is really, really good.
Oh, okay. See, I'm not playing that because I don't have a system that can run on. So
Okay, cool. Because that game looks beautiful. The story is fantastic. There are a couple hiccups here and there with some of the combat gameplay, but from like a presentation standpoint, it's been really, really fun to watch, and a really fresh story that taps into a piece of American culture that we just don't see very often. So it's super refreshing in that way as well. Plus, it makes all the internet incels mad as fuck.
For real.
Yeah, people are foaming at the mouth for obvious reasons if you just look up this game for a second.
Yeah.
But fucking cry more.
They're so mad about everything right now. It's like, just shut up and go away.
Pretty much.
I was just like anticipating Assassin's Creed Shadow releasing just so people can stop talking about it.
Yeah, that's out. So I think people have finally like chilled the fuck out about that. But now they're just mad because they put a release date for Ghosts of Yotei up, and
it's for them. It's always like, let's move on to the next thing to get angry. about.
And they're so they hate Eric Ishii so much.
What community can we be a tourist in next? Like, yeah, it's exhausting at this point. Oh my god.
Thank you, Kestrel, for doing the Lord's work of pulling that shit up so we can look at it.
Yeah, Kate, I didn't know if you had another one, so I didn't steal your thunder.
No, I've been playing Blueprints. I've been playing I don't know, these old games keep putting out like more DLC content and stuff. I'm still playing Monster Hunter Wilds. I'm playing Assassin's Creed Shadows just because it's there. And I'm like, I guess I'll play this game too. Which is fine, but it's Assassin's Creed. If you've played the last 3 Assassin's Creed, you know exactly what you're getting. Except it's in Japan now.
I've been playing Monster Hunter since the PSP days, and I like somehow held out on getting Wilds. I'm just like holding out until either the first major expansion or like at least a couple title updates. So I'm hanging in there strong so far.
I'm enjoying
To be
it.
fair, I had to upgrade my PC a little bit before I could even play it.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that thing's a monster to run.
Yeah, it's just so unoptimized. It's awful.
Yeah. Alrighty, good stuff. So I think it's about that time where we can call it an episode. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Kestrel so we can let everyone know where to find us, and then we'll say our goodbyes for this evening.
Yeah, so in addition to all of your evil video streaming services owned by evil billionaires, you can subscribe to your favorite evil audio streaming service owned by evil billionaires. Find us wherever you find your podcast of choice. Subscribe, rate, and review on whatever platform that might be. You can get us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, maybe for a little bit longer, YouTube Music, Spotify, SoundCloud, Amazon Music, Facebook, whatever. And you can just find us on fandompost.com. Also on your favorite evil social media platform owned by evil billionaires. The most evil, in fact. We are still on Twitter.
Please
we are
delete
still
that
on
account.
Facebook.
Delete Twitter. We don't need that anymore. We don't get any referrals from there. It's pointless. We should delete that.
I mean, yeah, okay. We have literally no followers on Blue Sky, but yeah, we're on Blue Sky too, technically, but none of you are. So yeah, Twitter, Blue Sky, Facebook, whatever. If you want to get in touch with us, you can just email us, fandomppostradio@gmail.com. I'm on all those social platforms, but I don't post anything ever. I probably have not made a single post this year. So, yeah, whatever. You can find me by my name if you want, but probably no point.
I feel in a similar boat. Hellshake Brando on all the socials. Haven't posted much besides angry quote tweeting, so don't bother looking up my shit.
Yeah, if you want to see
if
me,
anything, running away and maybe not engaging in social media as much is better for your mental health anyway. So
it would
It really
definitely better for your mental health. If you want to see me screaming about the fate of the universe on Blue Sky, you can follow me on Blue Sky. I occasionally do post funny things on there, so that's always nice. Let me see if occasionally I post pictures of my cat. If you
There
need
you go.
a brain palate cleanser, I occasionally try to rescue people by putting that up there. Let's see if I put a picture of the food I ate at lunch today that made me ill, or did not help my migraine, I should say. The random leftover Brazilian food from my
Cheese
boss's
ball.
morning meeting. Cheese balls. And okay, I'm not super okay. I was pretty angsty over the weekend. So post that I was posting dumb shit. Earth Day just happened, so I posted the link to the 1990 Earth Day special, which has like a bunch of actors in 1990 reprising the, like, I think the Ghostbusters show up, and then that's weird. You should scrub through that sometime if you've never seen that before. There's weird shit going on in that special.
And then Char shows up, and then Spike Spiegel shows up.
Right.
Everything old is new again.
Always.
Alrighty. Well, as always, thanks everyone for listening. Hopefully you're enjoying the new season and all of its bountiful original offerings. And then, get out there and play some of the incredible video games and watch some of the really good shows that are out as well. And until then, we'll see you later.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye-bye.